This episode of Young and Profiting is brought to you by Intuit, the maker of TurboTax and QuickBooks. If you're looking for a flexible career opportunity that lets you help others while building your own path, Intuit is inviting Yap Gang to join its world-class network of tax and bookkeeping experts. Visit intuit.com/expert to learn more or apply now. Young and Profiters, welcome back to episode 3 of our Passion to Profit series. And in the last episode, we spent time on how to build your offer, step by step, from identifying the pain points to testing, pricing, and refining what you're selling. And so you're ready to build something real, something worth sharing. But now, how do you actually get this offer in front of the right people and then get them to care? Now we come to the part where we truly change the game. That's marketing. Marketing is what separates passion projects from scalable businesses and where real entrepreneurs set themselves apart. In this episode, we're diving into how to attract the right audience, build trust fast, and turn attention into action. And we've got some top-tier minds joining us to break it all down, including Julie Solomon, Adam Schafer, and Tom Bilyeu. Let's do this. To attract the right audience, it's not enough to just identify and address their pain points. You need to also understand their desires. The most powerful offers don't speak to people's problems. They speak to their potential. That's why marketing expert and influencer Julie Solomon encourages entrepreneurs to shift to what she calls desire-based marketing.
I am a huge believer, and I coach people on getting away from pain point marketing, which is what you're talking about, and more into desire-based marketing. So what I mean by that is that someone that is currently in pain, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're ready to get out of it. So a lot of and the reason why is because a lot of times people don't really know what they may be looking for. They don't know why they're in pain. They don't know why this is happening. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's say that there's someone who maybe they want to lose weight. We'll just say that because that's like an easy example. So they may Google search how to lose 10 pounds in a healthy way. And then maybe that takes them to a podcast, or maybe that takes them to an opt-in. And then they'll find something there. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe it's because I need to be on keto. And so then they start searching examples of a keto diet, and then they'll research some of that, and then that will lead somewhere else. And what happens is that these people are still kind of in this analysis phase. They're still in the phase where they're just trying to figure out why this is happening and how could I find a solution, and is there a solution available? If you talk to that person that's kind of in that pain, it takes so much longer to poke the pain and poke the pain and poke the pain until they're ready to make a buying decision, versus somebody that has had what I call their enough is enough moment. So what I mean by that is that there's other kinds of buyers out there that they've already done the research, they've already listened to the podcast, they've read the books, they've tried this, they've tried that, and they're done. Like, enough is enough. I need a solution, and I need it yesterday, and I need to pay someone to help me fix this problem now. That person is going to be way easier and way faster to convert as a buyer. And so the best way to call those people in when we talk about attract versus repelling, and it makes sense, right? If you just focus on pain point marketing, who are you going to attract? A lot of people that are in pain. Versus if you start to really hone in on desire-based marketing and future-pacing people into the desired existence that they want to be in, yes, you're in this pain reality now, but this is what's possible on the other side, then you're going to start attracting people who are actually looking for a transformation. They're actually looking for a solution. They're not just looking for more validation of their pain.
And if you want to inspire that action in people and move them towards transformation, you need to actually understand what motivates people, and desire alone doesn't always convert. The online marketing expert Russell Brunson explains the secret is often lying in something even deeper: status.
Everything we do or we don't do in life is because it all has to do with status. Like if you do something, it's either going to increase your status or it's going to decrease your status. So we do things because we hope it's going to increase our status, or we don't do things because we're feared that it's going to decrease our status. So for example, somebody sees a nice car, like, I want to buy a Ferrari. And the reason why I want to buy the Ferrari is because if I buy this thing, it will increase my status. My people around me will think that I'm better. So like that's what drives us to want to buy something, right? If I'm going to buy a course from somebody, there's two weird things, right? If I buy something from you, I'm taking money out of my bank account and giving it to you. So what happens immediately is my status is decreased because I'm losing money. But I have a hope that by giving you this money, it's going to increase my status by the result you're giving me, right? And so they're always weighing like, if I give you this, it's going to decrease my status temporarily, but by doing so, I'll figure out this thing which will increase my status. Therefore, I'm willing to take that risk. And so when I'm selling something or I'm making an offer to somebody, I'm always thinking about that. Like, by them giving me money, it's going to decrease their status, but I have to help them see the vision of like, over time, this will actually increase their status if they buy this thing. And status could be, they're going to make more money, they're going to lose more weight, whatever that thing is they're trying to get, right? And if they believe that the increase in the status will offset the decrease by paying you, then they're more likely to buy the thing.
Status is such a huge driver, and if you want to tap into that and what really drives people to buy, don't just sell them features, sell them a future. That's where storytelling comes in. A compelling story connects your offer to the version of themselves they aspire to be. Tom Bilyeu, co-founder of Quest Nutrition and host of Impact Theory, knows firsthand how powerful stories are in both business and life. He shared with me why storytelling is the ultimate marketing superpower and how the right message can turn customers into true believers.
Stories simplify things and they focus attention. And that is the magic of storytelling. This is exactly how humans are able to come together in these gigantic, flexible groups with people they've never even met and cooperate. You have shared stories. It could be shared story of a nation state, could be shared story of a religion, but you need some sort of shared story to pass on values, to pass on identity, to give people a unifying narrative. So for better or worse, humans are a meaning-making machine, and stories allow you to transmit meaning. So they're just a mechanism by which you simplify things enough to extract meaning from. So we do it all the time. When we stub our toe on the coffee table, we tell a story. We're an idiot because we don't pay attention enough to our surroundings, and that's what stubbing our toe means. Or you could tell yourself the story of, man, I'm so hardcore, I probably broke my toe just now, but I don't stop, I don't quit. I'm the kind of guy that keeps pushing forward. Right? So it all comes down to what's the story that you tell yourself about that thing. So it isn't what happens, it's what it means. And once people understand what it means, you're telling yourself that story. Someone may have said it from the outside, but you decided that that's what you were going to repeat, that's what you were going to adopt. So whether you're a marketer, whether you're just trying to lead your own team, you've got to tell them a story. This is why every company needs a mission. Your mission statement is about galvanizing your team. It's about telling the consumer what it means to buy your product, what they're sort of becoming a part of. And then in your marketing, you want to tell something that's simple enough that people can remember it like it's a story. And oftentimes just literally telling a story inside of your marketing is one of the most useful things that you could do. A couple of times in this interview, you've asked me to tell stories from my childhood or whatever. And so we all just resonate to stories. So in the same way that when humans look at an image, we look for eyes. When people are hearing, okay, this thing happened, they're looking for the story in it. And so if you reveal character through it, if you reveal a moral through it, people are going to remember it way more than if it's just a list of facts. This is why humans get so bored in high school history, only to later discover through, like a hardcore history episode, actually history is amazing. But history is only amazing when you tell it like a story. If you tell it like a story, it's fascinating. You tell it like disembodied facts and figures, not interesting at all and hard to remember, because that's not the architecture of the human mind.
And this aspect of human psychology is why in marketing, the best stories don't spotlight the seller. They center on the customer. When people hear a story, they automatically try to place themselves into that story. So if your marketing makes you the hero, you've already lost your customers. Donald Miller, the best-selling author of Building a Story Brand, explains why great marketers don't just tell stories, they invite customers into one.
Story is the universal language. And when you're having any kind of conversation, whether it's getting together with a friend to catch up, or it's a sales conversation, or even if it's a conversation with your therapist, what your brain is doing the entire time is trying to organize events into the structure of story. Your brain is subconsciously figuring out who the hero is, what the problem they're up against is, how they're going to get out of that problem, what the happy ever life will look like if they do get out of that problem. So because most people are not actually very good communicators, it's very hard to figure out what the story is actually about. But if we actually lay out our communication in the form of story, the person that we're talking to doesn't have to use any mental bandwidth in order to understand what we're talking about. And that gives the brain a really pleasant feeling because the brain doesn't have to work hard to organize the information. we tend to follow leaders who are able to do that. And we tend to buy products from account executives who are able to do that.
Now, if storytelling is what grabs your audience's heart, a funnel is what guides their feet. Without a clear path, even the most powerful message can get lost. A marketing funnel gives structure to the buyer's journey, from curiosity to conversion. So you're not just inspiring people, you're actually leading them somewhere. Russell Brunson breaks down how a great funnel is both art and architecture.
The first part of the art is just understanding the psychology. If I'm taking somebody from a cold ad, where am I taking them? What's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step, right? So that's kind of the first part, is the structure. Kind of similar in my mind, like the structure of a house, right? Like, here's the framework that we're taking somebody through. But then on every ad and every page, there's always three things I look at. Like, every ad will have a hook, a story, and then an offer. And every landing page has a hook, a story, and an offer. And then every sales page has a hook. Like, those elements are on every single page. So I was looking at that. Okay, what's the hook, story, offer of this part of the funnel? What's the hook, story, offer of this part? And I look at those kind of things. And then I like looking at, how they tell their story and how they're doing it in a way that gets me excited to want to buy the product, or to, how does the story increase the perceived value of the thing they want me to buy? And so for me, like, that's the art. Like, I love studying it and looking at it. I look at everybody's funnels, what everyone's doing. And then I just learn from that. And then from there, when I'm building my own funnels, I'm looking at, here's all these ideas, here's all these things people are doing. And I try to bring the best of those things into my funnels. And I always tell people who come into my world, I'm like, if you want to buy something from me, please buy it because I want you to buy the product, right? But more importantly, I'm like, buy things from me very, very slowly. Because I'm like, if you look at any page inside of any of the funnels, like, this is not me just throwing up something and hoping it works. This is like me. I will go look at, like, let's say I'm doing a book funnel or a webinar funnel. I will go through and look at 50 to 100 webinar funnels before I build my next webinar funnel every time. And I'm studying and looking and pulling the best practices in. So like, when I'm building out my webinar funnel, it's like the best art in the world. Like, it's all the best practices you can dream of in every single page. And so, that's the art for me.
A good funnel structure alone, however, won't move the needle unless it's paired with messaging that grabs attention and drives action. Rudy Moore, a direct response marketing expert, talks about why immediate, click-worthy messaging still matters, especially for new creators.
Direct response marketing has been around for many years. It's like the underlying sort of type of marketing behind a lot of big brands, okay? And I think marketing, you can always split into two sides. You've got like more like organic branding, fluffy social media marketing and branding, and then you've got what I call more hardcore direct response marketing. And to give you an example, if you're listening, direct response marketing is, where it's a big promise or a big claim, or it's very clear. It's like, lose 27 pounds in 27 days with this 2-minute morning meditation, right? So that's like that's what direct response is, because it's a clear, hey, do this and you'll get this outcome. Branding would be more, this fitness influencer that talks about weight loss and kind of has, all these different ads and social media content and something that they're known for. And eventually the goal of a brand is to build more like a Coca-Cola or a Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton doesn't need to say, buy this handbag and everyone will think you're rich and famous and this is what all the celebrities, and it's a status symbol. That would be direct response for Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton doesn't need to do that because it spent 100 years or whatever building a brand. But when most of us start out, we're not Louis Vuitton or Gucci or Coca-Cola or Nike as much as we wish we were and want to be. So I think more beginners actually need to learn some level of direct response, because it's what gets attention and it gets people to click and it gets people into your world, which is where you can then start impacting them.
Mm-hmm. So just to break it down, there's direct response and there's brand. The other way that I think about it is direct response is like immediate, right? You're looking for immediate conversions, immediate leads. Branding is more of like awareness, long tail. You might get the leads later on, but it's more about getting people familiar, getting people warm. So what are the main ways that people do direct response? Like, what are the main channels?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at any platform that you can advertise and get some sort of an instant reaction is great for direct response. So for me, I don't do much in SEO. I don't know much about it. I think it's a good background thing to run. But if I build a new website today, there's a very, very small chance that I'm going to instantly rank number 1 on Google for a keyword. But what I can do is build a website today, build a social media, Facebook and Instagram handle and profile, and set up an ad, and I can get genuine leads, customers, and clicks to my website that same day or the next day maybe. So that's the big difference, right? And it's a lot of people say, Rudy, well, what's better? It's like asking what's better, diet or exercise. Yeah, you kind of need both long term, right? But you might start with one to really kind of get going, and then add in the second one and refine over time. So yeah, I think direct response, any social media platform where you can reach people instantly, advertising on Facebook, Google ads, YouTube ads, all of those, LinkedIn ads. And then most of the time you'll see direct response more with cleared landing pages and what we call in our world funnels. I like to call them more like sales processes, where there's a clear end goal, right? Someone's going to click that link on a social media ad, they're going to give their email, they're going to get redirected to a 5-minute video, and then at the end of the video it tells them to book a sales call, or it tells them to buy a $200 product. That's more direct response.
All right, Yap Gang, you've got a funnel in place and a compelling message for your offer. But how do you decide where to share your message, and how do you actually build engagement once people find you? In the second half of this episode, we'll explore the platforms that matter the most for entrepreneurs and creators today, and how to show up in ways that keep people coming back. At Yap Media, we've trusted Intuit products for years. We started with QuickBooks to keep our business finances organized from the ground up, and it's been instrumental in helping us track our growth and manage our finances effectively. And now Intuit is expanding its world-class network of tax and bookkeeping experts for TurboTax and QuickBooks. Whether you're looking to work full-time, part-time, or simply supplement your income, Intuit offers flexible schedules that fit your lifestyle, helping you build a personalized career path on your terms. And you won't be doing it alone. You'll have the support of a credentialed team, plus you'll get free training through the Intuit Academy to build confidence and develop your skills in tax preparation and bookkeeping. This means whether you're already experienced or just getting started in the field, there's a path for you. Intuit's passionate about helping people, customers, and experts alike create meaningful impact through financial clarity. If this sounds like an opportunity that you've been waiting for, head to intuit.com/expert to learn more and apply now. That's intuit.com/expert. Welcome back, everybody. In this first half of the episode, we broke down the art and science of storytelling and funnel design and how to grab attention in a crowded market. Now, let's talk about where that attention should actually go. Because no matter how good your message is, it won't land unless you're showing up in the right places consistently. And if you're just starting out, don't worry, you don't need a massive ad budget. You just need clarity, consistency, and content that speaks to people already looking for it. Here's HubSpot CMO Kip Bodnar with a roadmap to platform success. So you are a brand new entrepreneur.
Yep.
You might have like a little bit of money, but you have time. So you have time to invest. What would you do for your marketing strategy launching a new company?
All right, if I'm time rich and money poor, what would I do?
Yes.
The first thing I am doing is I am figuring out what type of creator I need to be, right? Am I going to be YouTube, LinkedIn? What's my product? What's my market? And I got to start creating, and I got to create on the daily because I'm time rich. I got the time to make every day, and I got to make something every day. And I'm going to use AI tools to help me keep up the pace of production, and they're free to very low cost. So I can take advantage of that. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find one area where my target audience spends a lot of time that I might be able to reach them in a very interesting way. Like an example of this is like the early days of LinkedIn groups.
Yep.
Right? What you could do in the early days of LinkedIn groups is sponsor messages that the group owner could send to the entire group. And we would go and we would spend money to do that. And nobody else was doing that. And we got hugely efficient lead generation by doing that. And it's just like, oh, 1 million marketers are in this group. Nobody is really going after them. How do we get them?
Just because you're showing up doesn't mean you're being heard. As Kip Bodnar emphasized, platform consistency is key. But platform fluency matters just as much. Every channel has its own culture, expectations, and unspoken rules. What works on a podcast might flop on YouTube. A story that kills on Instagram might fall flat on email. Adam Schafer talked to me about some of the hard-won lessons from Mind Pump Media's early YouTube missteps and how learning to adapt their message made all the difference.
What I have realized over all these years of doing this now is that they're different. They're different monsters, and every medium is that way too. So for the people that are entrepreneurs that are listening, it's very, very clear that I have a Spotify audience. I have a YouTube audience. I have an Instagram audience. I have an email audience. Now, there is definitely a crossover on all these platforms. There's a problem. And if I had to put a number on it, I'd say 5 or 10% of these people maybe cross over all platforms. But for the most part, most people stick to the platform they consume all their content on. And they would consider themselves a YouTube person or an Instagram person. And so it's important to learn your voice on each platform and know like how you communicate on email is a little bit different than how you communicate on the podcast. I remember when we first learned this mistake, when we started the YouTube channel, we'd already been doing pretty well with the podcast, and we weren't on YouTube yet because we kind of thought, who the hell wants to watch three idiots talk in a chair, fitness for an hour and a half? So we were like, that's ridiculous. We won't do that. But we did go, well, we are personal trainers, and so we can give out exercise videos. So let's that add value, right? How do we add value to our listeners already? Let's teach them visually like exercises. That's a good way to bolster the business. Agreed. Okay, we all did. Well, this worked for the podcast, so let's do this on the YouTube channel. So if you go back on our YouTube channel, you'll see how we used to start every YouTube episode on the exercise channel. And it was literally the three of us making jokes and talking all silly and goofy and being ourselves. And Doug would swoop in with the camera, and like the first 2 minutes of the YouTube video, which is supposed to be exercise tutorial videos, was us, joshing each other and having fun and teasing and kind of like talking, telling a story. And then we would get into the exercise demo. And we just thought, because that was the formula for the podcast, that, okay, it'll work on YouTube. And it kept falling on its face. And people were commenting like crazy. This is stupid. Who are these idiots? Get to the exercise. Tell us how to do this. And we kind of ignored that for a while. And it took a while before we realized like, oh, wait a second. And it was funny because when I look back, it was so obvious, right? It's like, how do I use YouTube? If I want to learn how to, bake a cake, and I YouTube that recipe, do I want the person to be talking 5 minutes about jokes in their personal life before they get to it? I'm going to skip and I'm going to go right to give me the guy or the girl that gets right to the recipe and teaches me. That's why I searched for this. What are these idiots doing talking? And why do I need all three of them? Looking back, I go like, oh, of course. But we didn't know that. And I didn't know that until we tried that and we realized like, oh, okay, wow, these platforms are really different and everybody uses it in different ways. And so learning how to take your overall arching mission and voice and shape it into whatever medium that you are using. How we write long form content like white papers is so different to how we do short form emails, is so different to how we do 1 minute reels, is so different to how we do hour and a half long podcasts. And it took a while to kind of really figure out how we change those, but yet stay on brand, authentic to who we are, and continue to communicate the message that we're trying to do, but understanding that on each platform, we're speaking from a different voice.
When you've identified the right platform for you, it's time to focus on what really builds an audience and a business: trust and connection. I've experienced this myself when I stopped trying to please everyone and leaned fully into my direct, high-energy style. That's when things really took off for me. And that's partly because authenticity attracts alignment. It's easy to get caught in chasing vanity metrics like likes, views, and follower counts. But the truth is, you don't need a massive following to build a massive impact. You need an engaged one. As Julie Solomon told me, many brands are shifting their focus away from clout and towards connection.
A large following does not equal more money. It just doesn't. And I think a lot of times people, for some reason, just people make up and tell themselves that. And what's interesting about this too, Hala, is that Instagram has now come out and said that a large following does not necessarily equal more monetization. Brands have come out and said, we actually want to work with nano and micro influencers over the macro and the celebrity influencers because they have a more engaged audience. They convert more consistently for us. Their audience trusts them more. They're more engaged in the content that they're creating. And so that's just a huge myth that needs to be busted. Like, higher following does not equal more money. In fact, in my Pitch It Perfect program, the majority of people that are landing paid brand deals consistently, daily, weekly, have less than 3,000 followers. They're making far more than the ones that spent all of their time trying to get to some magical 100K number or something like that. And it kind of goes back to what you said, Hala, about you may not have the biggest podcast in the world, but where your genius really lies is understanding what the podcast sponsors need and want, and what's going to actually get the deal done. And that's where you spend your time. That's what you invest your relationships in. That's what you make sure that you're educated on and you're on the tip of the arrow on. That's what you hustle for, not only for your podcast, but for your network of podcasters and the people that work for you. And that's why you're able to get that done. It's really about the intention, because where your intention goes, the energy and the money will flow. And that is just kind of a mindset shift that I think people need to really reframe for themselves. Because too, each level of growth is going to require a different mindset level. And to me, I like to think of it more about money. It's like the following ship is great, but it doesn't really matter if no one's engaging with you. I would rather have, 1,000 followers who are literally eating up everything that I say and buying everything that I offer versus 100,000 followers that could give two flying craps about what I'm doing. And that's just me personally, because the 1,000 followers that are buying and showing up every day, that's more sustainable than the 100,000 that aren't.
Consistency earns attention, but generosity earns trust. Offering useful tools, templates, or content for free doesn't just capture leads. It proves your value before money ever changes hands. That kind of generosity builds credibility fast. Kip Bodnar explains why giving away great things for free can actually accelerate your business.
Remember that marketing is kind of a lesson in economics. It's what do you want to sell versus what do you want to give away to sell a bigger thing down the road, and like how do you offset how you think about that. About 10 years ago, we were like, hey, you know what? The world is changing and trust is becoming the most important thing. And one of the ways you can build trust with people is to let them try before they buy. Right? And like your webinar is a great example of that. It's like, hey, if I'm on a 30, 60-minute webinar with you, I probably have a pretty good idea about what your course is going to look like, what the quality is going to be, what it's going to feel like, the experience. And so I'm much more likely to have trust and go buy that course. So if you use our free version of HubSpot CRM, you're much more likely to buy a paid version because you're like, hey, you know what? I'm up and running on this. I've closed a couple deals with it. I understand the features that if I pay for them that I would get. And you know what? I kind of need them because I think I would make even more money if I paid for those features. And it's a whole different game. Right now, like we all have access to infinite knowledge with AI. Knowledge is a complete commodity. So in that world, trust becomes everything. People can know who you are, but they can still not trust you at all. And giving that value away is how you build trust. And so for us, like the free version of our product, so we do it. But you have webinars. There is a version of that for any business.
Yap Bam, finally, let's talk about how to cement that trust with your audience. While giving value is essential, how you deliver that value matters just as much. People don't connect with perfect, they connect with real. Being open about your struggles, mistakes, and learning curves invites your audience to see themselves in your story. The business strategist Kelly Roach and I discussed why authenticity is one of the most powerful tools in marketing, and how emotional resonance is what truly makes messages stick.
What are some other actionable ways that we can bring this emotion to our branding, aside from the obvious ones, which is like social media posts and, having a podcast where you tell your personal stories?
It's literally, you can do it with anything. I mean, you can tell stories. I mean, for me, a lot of times, even when I do like Instagram stories or Facebook stories, like I'm literally just giving like encouragement. It's encouragement. It's sharing mistakes. It's sharing setbacks that you work through. I think one of the things that's most endearing when you're a teacher that, wants people to want to work with you is not when you just show your highlight reel of all of your greatness and all of your wonderful accomplishments, but instead when you say, listen, I failed at this and I failed at this and I failed at this, and this is what I learned from it, and this is who I became, and this is why I'm successful today. And these are all the things that you can skip over that you don't have to go through because I did, and I'm going to tell you what to do instead. So I think it can be in podcasts, it can be in live streams, it can be in videos, it can be in emails, it can be in posts on social media, stories, right? It can be from the stage, it can be from behind the microphone, anywhere that you connect with your audience. It can be in a book, right? In a book, any way you want. But the bottom line is it's going from transaction, which is not emotional and it doesn't have staying power, to relational, which now is what creates that desire, that stickiness factor in the brand for people to want to stay with you.
In today's worlds of algorithms and attention hacking, it's easy to chase the noise and forget what actually moves the needle, and that's trust. Real marketing is not about gimmicks. It's about showing up with your heart, leading with value, and staying true to your story. That's how you turn a product into a brand and passion into real profit. So don't just chase attention, build connection, serve, show up, and stand out. That's how you're going to win. All right, Yap Fam, this concludes episode 3 of our special 3-part series of turning your passion into profit. We talked about getting into the mindset of entrepreneurship, building your offer, and now marketing your offer. Now that you guys have all the tools and resources to get started, I expect you to hit the ground running and turn your passion into profit. This is your host, Hala Taha, aka the Podcast Princess, signing off. I've got to give a huge thanks to Intuit for sponsoring today's episode. Intuit is inviting our Yap Fam to join its world-class network of tax and bookkeeping experts. If you've got experience in tax and bookkeeping, or even if you're just getting started, this is an incredible opportunity with flexible scheduling and the chance to make a real impact in people's lives. It's the perfect side hustle or main hustle. So if you're ready to get started, visit intuit.com/expert to learn more or apply. That's Intuit, INTUIT.com/expert to get started.